oftentimes it is some kind of tragic, traumatic, like, experience that sort of sets them on this path and drives them to this point. And I think that's what's really cool about this story and this first film is that we're used to seeing these kind of assassin characters. We've seen CIA characters before, spy characters, but we never really see how they come to that. And I think it's really cool to see kind of a kid, in his mid-20s, go from being just that to being right there and experiencing with him the tragedy he experiences, and then kind of going forward with him on the path he leads. It's interesting to explore that, that kind of human aspect of a tragedy, and to see someone who's so personally affected by a moment in his life and, this loss that he experiences, that he then it completely changes him, obviously, and then to see him go on this path, to kind of then isolate himself from the world and start, training himself and teaching himself this language and to try to infiltrate these terrorist cells. I think it's a really cool character in terms of, him being a really smart kid who kind of starts training himself to be this assassin on his own, and balance that with the kind of emotional trauma he's experienced, and it's a really interesting journey. Both Hurley and Mitch teach each other something eventually by the end of this initial story arc. I think, Mitch is sort of this caged animal, like when we first meet him. Mitch realizes through the training with Hurley that he's got to sort of focus more on it being that, exactly, stripping it of emotion. And Mitch's tendency to go off the grid and kind of do his own thing, I think shows Hurley a little bit in the end that there is room for that as well, And you can't always kind of be going by the book, and you can't always just, take an order when you're given one. I think he eventually shows Hurley, too, by the end, that there's room for that. When you're working with an actor like that, it's easier to sort of settle into a groove, and you're kind of so seamlessly in the scene with him. He's so in the scene, you can't really help but do anything else but be in the scene with him, And I feel like there's a lot of similar ways we like to go about our work too, which has been really cool to see, And I just have loved working with him. He's been nothing but welcoming of kind of notes on your character, your thoughts, and he feeds off that. And in a sense, that's how he goes about directing. He's so driven by character, and which is why I thought he was just the absolute right guy to helm this project, because I think that's exactly what it needed. He was the perfect guy to kind of come in and cast it, and then allow his cast to have their input, and always have his ears open and always open to conversation and always open to ideas.